Welcome to tonight's edition of Under the Bleachers. Gavin McKenna got busted, a bar fight, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about NIL, but yeah, that is breaking news. It was breaking news a few hours ago. I was completely thrown off guard by that when my friend who writes for the Dallas Stars texted me that 4 hours ago. That completely threw me off, and I'm still waiting on two people to give me their Super Bowl picks. So I can't really post that to the site. I can copy and paste the date. I can start working on it, but we won't have the official results until I get that. But yeah, let's get into this NIL. Let you vent about whatever.
Getting into it, I mean, what with NIL is like what I mentioned to you, man. It's like they brought back 90s with the Miami Hurricanes, but all of a sudden they're trying to call it, name, image, and likeness, and pay these kids. But, they haven't had any structure that actually made any sense. I mean, there's things happening like what happened with Matt Saluka. He literally, being promised $100,000 at UNLV, and then when he shows up, getting $3,000, and then just expected to play. And I mean, it has absolutely become dumbness. I mean, somebody lied to this kid, and now all the fans are mad at him. Oh, he quit on his team, and he quit on this and everything else. And it's like, I messaged him. I was hoping to get on the show. Hopefully one day soon we will be able to. Because I mean, this is a kid that is completely underrated. Why they haven't, than they have. They should be signed as an employee or as a contract. Get more money and this, and moving on to Ohio State. I mean, is just absolutely. I don't know why. Everyone is, to figure out in their head what they think is right. Whether someone like this that quit on their team, or whether maybe. I mean, what do you think about that, Chris? I mean,
I think he just wants what he feels he was due. He wants the team he was with to honor their end of the agreement.
$1,000 for a nil deal isn't anything. What? I mean, Bryce Underwood got something like for last year for 1 year of mediocre football at Michigan. But I mean, just what do you think that they should do about this to go forward? I mean, to end up without any more debacles like this.
I'm not sure how you go about it, because I think you have to take some approach. Well, what's the best approach to take? Because
they're just trying to get out of saying it's their name, image, and likeness, instead of saying that. Sorry, I've got this terrible echo going on. But this kid, he's back up for James Madison this year, you know, and I mean, it's like that video I tagged in earlier, you know, I mean, this kid with flick of a wrist, he throws a football, you know, dumps it in the end zone, close to 70 yards. It was about 67 yards, something along those lines. And I mean, he still ended up getting to play with James Madison in the college football playoff. But I mean, obviously, this is just more of, or more or less, you know, like the old West, like what they're doing here, you know, going in there and robbing banks like Jesse James or what have you, you know. And it's just absolutely asinine what they
I
have going
agree.
on. You know, these kids, they go out there, they put their health at risk, you know, when the football team, the playing of football, everything is for them. It's not so much for us fans to watch, you know. I mean, that's what makes them money. But when they're out there blowing out their knees and they can't even take, you know, a cheeseburger, or even, you know, in Jameis Winston's case, you know, some crab legs or something from a store, it's like, just how stupid is that, you know? And I can't believe how somebody, you know,
Exactly.
and be like, you know, the kid is obviously, he's, well, 97, you know, and but then they come out and say, oh, well, they didn't do it and everything else. And then everybody turns on him, you know, and first he's going to Wisconsin, which is, you know, it's, but then he ends up at James Madison, you know, and probably not making anything, you know.
Yeah,
It makes you wonder how many cases like this have actually happened, you know, just the stuff that we're not hearing about, you know.
agreed.
And I mean, everyone's, you know, so and so, you know, their player, you know, they thought was going to be their future, you know, took off out the door after more money. It's like, well, what did you expect of them? I mean, how they've done it, man. You know, I mean, they've obviously, because of that, you know. And I mean, the kid's a star football player, you know. I mean, he is, I would draft him, like, without, you know, a second thought about it. It's like, you know, I just see him as standing up for himself and what was owed.
Yeah,
With ones like Arch Manning and Bryce Underwood and all these other guys that are getting paid all the, it's like, where is the limit? You know, I mean, that in the,
yeah, it's nuts.
it's the same boosters, you know. And it's like, you know, Johnny Manziel, he said every school had a bag man, you know. And I mean,
Yeah,
that's just how it was. And I mean, it goes back into, you know, Cam Newton. I mean, there were things where, you know, his dad, of course, you know, Cam Newton wasn't going to be involved in it. His dad was just going to say, oh, yeah, you know, this is a team that, this is where you're going to go play quarterback, you know. And that was over what, like $250,000
yep,
or something like that. He was trying to get paid. And
exactly.
I don't know, man. It's too many double standards for what it's worth. And
I
but
agree.
they have to have some kind of security for end up, you know, a Willis McGahee or something like that, you know, and then barely limps into the NFL, you know, just hoping that his knee will stop hurting, you know, long enough to get a few paychecks to set his family off, you know. But besides that, you know, I also wanted to talk about Matt Sluka as a prospect. I mean, this,
I think he's going back.
Yeah.
For next season.
As well, or
because I've heard he's going to start at James Madison next season. Not this. He was the backup at this season, but I hear he's probably going to be in the 2027 draft. If I had to guess,
as a prospect, the only real knock I have on him is the kind of dragging his feet when he's either running, going through his footwork, everything else, but I think that's another one of those things that's like the Phillip Rivers with the 3/4 release and everything else. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I don't think he needs that much. I mean that much work. I mean, the kid's played a little bit. He's obviously gotten through a whole lot of
interesting. Top 3 sleepers in the 2024 draft, July 4th, 2023. 3 QBs mentioned: Quinn Ewers, Grayson McCall, Matt Sluka. Sluka was the third guy mentioned there. And in 2024, when Sluka left UNLV, Travis Hunter told him, "You can wait. NIL can wait. Just focus on getting to the NFL." So I guess people are just he's not a guy who should be forgotten about, but that's kind of what the impression Sluka left when he left UNLV due to NIL disputes. It sucks because I think he deserves better opportunity.
I mean, a Taysom Hill type of backup to where he can do a whole lot of things in that offense. His legs beneath him are probably his best trait. And I mean, the kid, you can obviously see.
Yeah.
I mean, he's accurate. He's got everything you need to succeed in the NFL. I'm just wondering how many of these teams, when it comes down to it, I mean, are going to hedge what they decide, on the question of what happened at UNLV. And it's looking like he just wants to forget all that, I mean, on his Instagram, he's wiped everything clean except for his apology to the fans for what happened, And I think he can definitely be a success in the NFL. I mean, he's tool you need, and he obviously will stand up for himself. So he's not a pushover or a goofball like Doza. Not that that's a bad thing necessarily.
I don't. Mendoza might smile like a goofball. I don't think he is a goofball. He's pretty serious. He's got only 2 social media handles, one for LinkedIn, one for YouTube.
Sure, but man, that was like that post I made on Facebook this morning talking about the Raiders. It's like at one time I almost felt some empathy for their fans and how loyal they were after everything, between Jamarcus Russell and Josh McDaniel and just everything that's happened in Las Vegas or Oakland, Los Angeles over the last, quarter of a century is insane. But, he a little bit of a goofball, whatever he is, but it still cracks me up, dude. Like, just all that. But these Raiders fans are just absolutely, convinced he's already better than Mahomes and everything else. It's like, hey, you might just slow down, give the kid a little bit of a break, let him live a little bit, and he did win a national championship, and he still didn't have a Joe Burrow type of season, but
Burrow threw for 6,000 yards. Mendoza barely threw for 3,000, but then his numbers got inflated once the playoffs started. So it's going to look like he threw for 3,500 yards. But what people aren't looking at is what he did in the regular season leading up to the playoff.
You know, it wasn't. I think he ended up with like 42 by the time it was over. But you know, like I said, I think the Raiders fans need to also realize that there is a pretty big thing between Mendoza and the Raiders, and that would be this guy by the name of Tom Brady. You
Yep.
know, some people call him the greatest, but you know, that's going to be the interesting thing to see if he thinks that Mendoza is an NFL caliber quarterback, you know, worthy of the number one draft pick, you know, and so that's one of those things that is definitely going to be decided between here and there. But, you know, I mean, for else, like a 16 team format or start shifting around, you know, these playoffs to however they think is best. You know, I think they have to fix the whole transfer portal and the nil situation. You know, it's just, you know, the kids walking out and going after more money, and it's like, who can blame them? You know, it's like, so these are probably some of these kids, you know, growing up in the inner city, you know, probably on food stamps, everything else, with a single mom and raising 5-6 kids, however many, you know, and it's like, who can blame them about going after 100,000, 200,000? You know, I mean, it's one of those things that, you know, it's an opportunity, and this world is nothing is promised but, you know, death and taxes, and you know, oh, and quarterbacks being overhyped by sports media, you know. That's one thing that's certain about this world.
Quarterbacks overhyped,
yeah, every year, man. And then you got kids like Matt Saluka that is probably, in all likelihood, you know, unless he has a real standout season, or unless somebody, you know, has a wild hair, he's probably going to go undrafted and have to work his way into the league, you know, with everything he can.
Yep.
And like I said, hopefully I can get him on a show coming up, talk to him a little bit.
I agree.
That would be it would be good to have an interview like that and actually hear what happened. You know, I mean, I felt bad for the kid ever since the whole situation unfolded, you know, and then just watching these fans tear him apart. You know, I was looking him up earlier, Googling him back and forth and everything. And man, it was just, everybody, oh, quit on his team. It's like, no. It's like, man,
that's basically what the narrative is. The players are saying that. So when 50 of the other 53 players are saying that, that's what NFL scouts are going to consider the truth, whether he likes it or not. And I don't think he did quit on his team either. I'm with you.
Yeah.
That's what is going to be considered the truth, even if it's not.
Well, you know, that's the thing. You know, if you say something enough, I mean, who's to say that it's not the truth? You know, and which is it's a sad situation. You know, hopefully the kid can just pull out of it. You know, end up being a day 2, day 3 pick. You know, after having a nice Heisman Trophy winning season. You know, I mean. I'm not sure that'll happen to James Madison, but you know, I mean, no, I definitely like the kid, and I'm just saying for just so things like this don't happen to anyone, man. They just need to fix this, you know, and it's like what we were talking about, you know, with the NFL and people saying it's scripted and everything else. You know, it's like you just they have to do something about it. I mean, there are too many things. It's worse than, you know, at least, you know, in the 80s and 90s in Miami and all them and some of those other teams. I mean, they
Yep, I hear you.
obviously the powers that be do, you know, and like I said, hopefully this can all get turned around. But, you know, I mean, besides that, man, you know, I mean, I can't wait to see the Seahawks get beat in the Super Bowl by your
Yeah.
Patriots, man.
I hope
That'd be
we
nice.
win. I want to break that record for two reasons. For one, Drake May would be the youngest quarterback to win the Super Bowl, not Ben Roethlisberger. Two, the Patriots, not the Patriots and Steelers. The Patriots would have the sole possession of most rings. That's why I want this. So we can put this discussion to bed for good over who the best dynasty is, because it is the Patriots, whether you agree or not with their controversial methods. They are the best dynasty in NFL history.
Oh man, I see that every time people you start talking about Spygate or you know, deflating football.
And they're just using the easy schedule thing. What's the excuse going to be if we beat Darnold? Because honestly, I think Darnold's going to lay an egg, or he's going to play well, but the Patriots are going to play better, and they're going to win at the end.
Yeah, I think Drake May is just on too much of a push to, you know, I like Darnold fine, but I never saw anything extremely special about him. You know, I mean, he's obviously a good quarterback. He's been one of the best the last few years. But and he's also got JSN, you know, I mean JSN is a good player. I like that guy, but you know, Seahawks are my Niners rivals, so I'm not gonna break the PG-13 rule tonight, but we'll think about it. But yeah, man, I just wanted to get on here and bitch about that for a minute. Like, it was just absolutely driving me crazy, you know, to see so much of what's happening, so much of this wrong that's happening in sports, you know, kids getting lied to, you know, and you know, teams like, you know, obviously Oregon, they're trying to push this. Nike CEO is trying to push him over the top to win a championship, you know, before he croaks, you know, and just, man, I don't know. It's just, I don't ever want to see that happen to any kid, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, I wish all these kids the same luck, you know. I'm not a fan one way or the other, you know. I'm a fan of the game, and you know, seeing all these kids succeed would just be amazing. Obviously that's not all going to happen, but that's what I hope for in this, you know. And
yeah, I think May's going to win it this year. It's the 250th anniversary of America. The Patriots are just a more complete team. And here's the thing. Every Seahawks fan brings up the fact that they number one scoring defense. Your two best pass rushers had 7 sacks in the regular season. New England's two best pass rushers in the regular season, Landry and Chase, on 8.5, 7.5 sacks. They got to the quarterback more. Williams and Barmore are heating it up in the playoffs. You got 4 guys on New England you have to account for it on every given play. And as much as I like Leonard Williams, as much as I like Byron Murphy, Seattle's pass rush is not as good as New England's. I mean, New England faced 3 teams that had a guy with 10 sacks. The Chargers, Tuli Pelotu had 10 sacks, and he's not even considered their best pass rusher when Khalil Mack's fully healthy. The Patriots also had to face Daniel Hunter and Will Anderson, who both had double-digit sacks, and then they had to face the Broncos. Bonito had double-digit sacks, but Jonathan Cooper's the guy who goes against the left tackles more frequently. So the Patriots had to go through 3 really good 1-2 punches at edge rusher. And this Seahawks team, I'm not going to say they suck, but they feel like a scab edge rusher group compared to the 3 AFC teams New England went through. And I love their secondary, but I just don't get the same dominance vibe from Seattle's edge rushers that I get from the AFC teams New England took down.
Yeah.
And that's getting downplayed massively because everyone wants to bring up Seattle's #1 scoring defense. If May doesn't turn the ball over, you don't get any defensive touchdowns, motherfuckers. Sorry about the language. But that is the reality.
I'll put a disclaimer on that one. All right.
But that's the truth, William. We both know that's the truth. If Drake May avoids turnovers, Seattle's #1 scoring defense is rendered useless because they're dependent on the turnovers. They're turnover dependent, like the Bears and Jaguars, and that's not a recipe for winning. That's not a recipe for sustained success on a deep playoff run.
Not at all. What are you hearing about this phantom injury that Drake May has?
I don't think he's injured. I mean, he's lifting his shoulder. I think Darnold's more likely to be injured than
I'm seeing that now too. He's been nursing an oblique injury, so that kind of puts him on par, right?
Yep.
Drake May's a better quarterback. Patriots are a better team.
Yep.
And I just think it's going to be that, and then I'll get give some of them Seattle fans hell over, So it's scripted. I mean, were they supposed to lose that badly?
And the Rams secondary was not good, and Seattle just doesn't have a dominant edge rusher. That's kind of why I wanted New England in the Super Bowl, because I felt like they could beat either NFC champion. But NFC West fans don't want to play that game. But that was the conversation I was having internally leading up to the divisional round. Because once Bo Nix got injured, once Josh Allen got eliminated, I basically said there's only three teams that can beat New England: Denver with Bo Nix, Josh Allen in Gillette Stadium, and the Bears with Caleb Williams. All three of those teams got eliminated. New England got every break they needed. Now you just have to finish this game. That's really all you got to do.
Yep. For sure, man. I mean, they've wanted it that bad, and they've gotten that far, so might as well finish it now.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, everybody still cracks me up, man. The only time I've actually been cheering for the Patriots, well, obviously, I'm a Drake May fan. I mean, it's just that simple. I mean, he's that good of a quarterback, and I'm just hoping he can find a receiver, before long. I mean, he's got Diggs, but I mean, besides that, and we've already had that conversation quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah. Besides that, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I guess that's about all.
Yeah.
All we really had to cover.
Basically, we're talking NIL, we're talking a portal. I don't know exactly what's happening with McKenna. I'll check on X real quick, but I do want to get out of here by 9:30. I think there's a Stars game on TNT tonight against the St. Louis Blues, so I'll check one more time, see what we're hearing about that. Tanking his draft stock, charged with felony, aggravated assault and bar incident. Alleged individual's jaw could be broken. Look, if we don't know what's going to happen, everyone's saying, he's going to get 20 years in prison if he's convicted. They're going to put McKenna's lawyer's going to put the guy who got beat up by Gavin on trial, and he's going to ask him, did you call Gavin's mother a whore? And if he says yes, then I'm not going to give him 20 years of prison. They might give him 2 to 5. They might give him 5 to 10. They're not going to give him. The jury is not. No sane jury is going to give someone who committed aggravated assault 20 years of prison if the person who got beat up called his mother a whore. No sane jury, in my opinion. I wouldn't if I were on a jury. I would agree he has to do some time if he's found convicted. But I'd also argue, well, he only had this outburst because someone called the mother a whore, and that's the only reason this happened. So I don't think that's worth 20 years of a prison sentence, even if he is convicted. I would say this worst case scenario. This is like the Henry Ruggs situation in hockey, if it comes to that. I don't know.
Go that far, that's one of those things where, I mean, it's like Vince Neil, the lead singer from Motley Crue, did 30 days for drinking, driving, and killing somebody back in 1990 or 91, somewhere in there. And I who knows what the actual circumstances were and what that guy was actually saying and how drunk the other guy was and everything else. I mean, it's just the bar explains everything that probably needs to be known there, and it's one of those things where it's going to come out, what happened, and I don't think it's going to be that long, even if he did, a little bit of time, 6 months or a year, will probably be more like it, a whole lot more than 20, I mean. So, I mean, it's sad to see when things happen like that, who knows, maybe the guy just wanted to, find somebody famous to file a lawsuit on, get to beat out of him, and file a lawsuit against him, knowing that he's, an NHL player,
Yeah, and even if McKenna's convicted, I don't think this is the worst thing to happen to Penn State as a school. People are saying this might be the worst thing to happen to Penn State. No. This is peanuts compared to the Joe Paterno, Jerry Sandusky incident. This is peanuts compared to that.
Stuff happening all the time. I mean, look at just the different situations, alcohol involved. There's been Jalen Carter. This situation. Yeah, it's, who knows. I just, know one thing, you don't ever want to, get too far ahead of yourself until you know the situation, and it'll all come out, generally it does. So let's see. Where am I at on here? But besides that, man, I mean, it is Super Bowl week. I mean,
yep. And I cannot wait to see what happens during Super Bowl week. Oh, yeah. Podcast might get postponed or canceled. I just got that from Emmanuel, so I don't know if we're recording tomorrow. I will find out later tonight and get back to you tomorrow. But let's sign off.
All right, man. No worries.
We'll have some social media. Don't worries.
Yeah, I'll have to remember to put that disclaimer.
Okay.
But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening to our crap. And yeah, come see us next week and hopefully tomorrow. But